Devin has completely transformed how videos are edited and has created his own style to help him reach over 400,000 followers. This video will show you how you can replicate this style, and this is the animation we will be recreating.
Alright, my name is Devin Jatho, and this is a chart edits for your shot at joining the best media team in the world over at Nexus. Now, we are hiring top tier editors with a salary ranging anywhere between $2,000 per month all the way up to $8,000 per month. On top of receiving the highest pay in the industry, you also join an elite media team to where we do a lot of cool shit together. We run marathons together. We do quarterly editing team trips. But being the best media team in the world isn't easy. Every single one of us all work 10-hour days. Each editor does at least 50 to 100 revisions on each video, and you're going to be constantly challenged to grow here.
Okay, so this is going to be the longest video so far because we're actually recreating the Devin Jatho reel that I made a couple of weeks ago, and I'm sure you guys all know Devin Jatho. His editing style is very premium, and you can charge lots to your clients for this style. So I'll just play it.
Alright, my name is Devin Jatho, and this is a chart edits for your shot at joining the best media team in the world over at Nexus.
So let's just get straight into After Effects, creating a new composition, and this one's going to be 1080 by 1920 for the vertical YouTube Shorts kind of resolution. Yeah, so I just imported the MP4, and the first few steps are the text. So what I'm actually going to do is import like the Devin zone. He calls it that. It's like where the text and the face and everything else has a certain position to where it needs to be. So just like that. Now we're gonna add the text, so all right in all caps, and I'm just gonna start by making everything 3D. So just the text and the Devin Jatho video, it's gonna make it 3D, and add a camera. So camera, and then linking that to the null object like always. Only subtle, so pull down the exposure and the radius or something like that. And what you'll notice is the font really matters in this style. So what font I'm using is Tactic Sans. If you don't have it already, you can just download it on Google. So with the free fonts, you just search up Tactic Sans fonts and you can install it and import it into After Effects. It automatically imports. Yeah, so for the color, I'm actually going to use a gradient ramp. So we're going to add a gradient ramp to the text and just bring the points to something like that. And we can go red for in place of black and leave the white as it is. I think that looks pretty good. Now for the text appearing, it's going to be a mix of a position and a blur adjustment. So the opacity, the position, and we're going to add a lens blur. So go a few frames forward to about half a second, and then keyframe the position. And the opacity. And the iris scale for the blur. And go back, go to 0 for the iris scale. And go back to the start and keyframe the iris scale to 15. Go to the last one, go to 0. And then go to the first one and bring the position down a bit and the opacity down. Go F9 for the position and just drag the graph to something like this.
Alright,
Yep.
Alright.
Now we can even bring the scale up a little bit of the text.
Alright,
And what I'm going to do is, as you saw, there was a light that kind of zoom past the text, that's a light sweep, so I'm going to add a light sweep. You can just use the default CC light sweep and keyframe the center over here. So start it here, keyframe, and then go a little bit forward and keyframe, bring it that way, like that. Now for these keyframes, we're actually going to start it a little bit later, just so it doesn't frame out. So something like that. Even starting it a little bit later would benefit us. And bringing it closer together, so just a quick zoom of light. So something like that is good. So next we're just going to change the text. So come to where you start saying my, and then Control Shift D to cut, and write my name is. On PC, Control Alt Home to center the you can then center the anchor point, and click on this proportional grid just to make sure it's in the center after the adjustments. Now we're going to change the color to yellow, and we're done here. We'll just play that back.
My name is Devin. Devin Jatho.
And come to Devin Jatho. So when you say Devin Jatho, and for this we're going to add another effect.
Jatho. My name is Devin Jatho.
So for here we're going to click Devin Jatho. Again, center the anchor point and center the anchor point with the screen. So just like that. And if I've forgotten to explain what the Devin zone is, it's basically a free template. I can send it over if you want, but this square here is where the face should always be, and the red around it is where you don't really want to try put any like objects. This blue zone is the zone that I'm following for the text, and the green zone is for any extra effects. But the focus should always be on this circle. So this black circle here in the center, that's where the focus should be. So anything important, you put it there. We're just going to turn it off for now because we know where the text should be and the face is already in line. I'm going to change the color to something like purple, pink, something like that. And I'm going to add a flicker straight away. So S_flicker, that is a Sapphire plugin. If you don't have that, you'll have to buy it, or just let me know and figure something out in the Discord server that I'll make. This is a bit more of a flicker effect. We're going to actually keyframe the opacity. So here, you can just delete the other ones. So start it here because the other ones are for the rest of the text. And go a couple of frames forward and go to 0. And then just copy and paste this a few times. Just see how it looks. Yeah, we're just going to need a little bit more spacing between it. So maybe double or triple the spacing. And just try it now. See what it looks like.
My name is Devin Jatho, and this is.
Yep. And we're going to end off with 100 because we don't want the text to disappear.
Alright, my name is Devin Jatho, and this is a.
And now we're just going to play with the camera movement that we should have done at the start, but it's fine if we do it now. So keyframe position,
Alright.
go a little bit forward over here. So by forward, I mean change the Z-axis to go inwards into the screen. So if we look at that from another angle, what I mean is if we move this in and out, the camera actually moves back and forth in comparison to the frame that we're dealing with. So just going to move forward in space and then F9. And then come to here and then reset. So just 0 on the Z-axis. Just going to look at how this looks in the graph. yeah, it looks pretty decent. We could even play with the keyframes like this, something to make it even smoother. Up to you.
All right, my name is Devin Jatho, and this is.
Yep. So that looks pretty good, I think.
All right, my name is Devin Jatho, and this is a chart. It's for your shot at joining the best media team.
And the next part is going to be a slow zoom, so I'm just going to do that already because I already know
And this
what
is
the
a chart.
edit
It's
is.
for your shot at joining the best.
So just like that, and forward in space and down on the y-axis a little bit there. And yeah, you can do whatever you want with the graph because it's a long distance. It won't make much of an effect.
Jatho, and this is a chart. It's for your shot
So
at joining
just
the
look
best.
yeah, looks pretty good. Okay, so for this next part, what you're actually going to have to do is roto brush Devin with his table and then roto brush the rest. So the reason that we're going to have to do that is if you want to add anything behind Devin, you can't do it right now because there's only one layer, which is the whole composition. And if you try add anything behind it, it just disappears behind everything. So what we have to do is separate Devin in the table with his background set up so that we can add something in between those two layers so it is visible behind Devin while not being behind the background, if that kind of makes sense. But I'll show you what I mean shortly. So we're going to open up, we're going to have to duplicate the whole video. And then always roto brush from the start of the composition because it will automatically know what you're trying to do and carry over to the rest of the video by itself. I'm going to the start and I'm just going to do Devin on this one. So roto brush tool and select everything including his hair. And basically whatever we roto brushed in the other one, we want to do the exact opposite in this one. So I'm going to do the background only and leave Devin in this one. So just a quick tip, if you want to make the brush smaller or larger, you can actually hold control and zoom in or out with your mouse. So left or right will make the brush bigger or smaller. And to go into minus mode, that is going to be with Alt. So Alt and then no Alt. So holding Alt and then letting it go will either switch between minus or plus mode on the roto brush tool. So now if we individually play each one, so if I click this button here, you can see this one's just Devin and this other one is just the background. So yeah. Now for this next part, the text is going to come at the top. So it's going to say trial edit. For that, I'm actually going to copy the first text we made, so all right text, and bring it up a little bit. Cut this one, cut the Devin.
Jatho, and this is Devin Jatho, and this is a chart.
As soon as he finishes the and this is words, you're just going to cut out the Devin Jatho text and start to bring in this one. So I'm going to scale it up. And for the position, we're actually going to just make sure that the final keyframe is... And for the position, I'm going to take out the keyframes and position it here. So up here. I'm just going to see how that looks.
And this is a chart, it's for you.
Yep.
And this is a chart, it's for you.
Now the only thing we have to do is keyframe the position again because the other one was coming from down up and we want this one to go up down. So I'm going to go a little bit forward and leave it there. I'm going to go to the start now and drag it up. F9 for the keyframes.
And this is a chart, it's for you.
And for these keyframes, I'm actually going to add a bounce effect. So both of them selecting, click bounce it. Adjust the parameters. So I'm going to go 35 and 6, the go-to that I always stick to.
All right, my name is Devin Jatho, and this is a chart. It's for your chart. This is a chart. It's.
And I'm going to go 35/8, so 35 on the amplitude and 8 on the decay for this one.
This is a chart. It's for you.
Yep, and then the light soup can stay there. It's not really important, but it does add a good look. So For the red, we're actually going to change it to white just because it was in the tutorial.
Jatho,
And the text cannot be all right. It has to be trial edit. Obviously, that means the scale is going to have to go down a bit so it can fit the frame. And using the proportional, we're going to align it. So for that, you actually have to go onto one of the position keyframes and select both of them and just move it in position. So also using the centering the anchor point. And for this, you can see the movement has actually gone in a diagonal because we didn't center the anchor point at the start. So no worries, you just copy the X parameter for the last bit of the animation and paste it into the start. So now it's straight up and down. This is what I mean. And now if we play it back,
This is a chart. It's for your.
it looks good.
And this is a chart. It's for your shot. This is a chart. It's for you.
I'm just going to extend the life of this trial edit text.
It's for your shot.
So if you notice, the background was full of videos, so montages that Devin actually sent me. So I'm gonna play a montage of these videos that he gave me behind him, but in front of the background, if that kind of makes sense. So yeah, this is where the rotor brushing will come useful. So I've imported these. I'm gonna make them all 3D and scale them down a bit. I'm just going to keep these two, to be honest.
It's for you.
And obviously turn off the volume of them and drag them down so behind the Devin and in front of the other one. Keep the opacity down to something like 15. And I'm going to place one in front of the other. So what I mean by that is drag this one a bit further. And after that one kind of appears, cut this one out, just like that. And for this one, I'm going to keyframe the opacity in. So 15, drag it to where it should be, and actually bring a 0 keyframe in. So just like this.
And this is a chart. It's for your shot. Joining V.
And this one should actually fade out. So I'm going to keyframe the opacity out of this one.
Joining V best mute. Joining V.
And because the trial edit text didn't disappear by itself, I'm actually going to have to position it out.
V best
So
media team in the.
keyframe the position and then slowly just bring it a tad bit up. After that, it's just going to get cut off and it won't be in the way anymore.
It's for your shot. Joining V best media team.
We can even bring it to here, the start.
Shot. Joining V best media team.
So it just kind of disappears without your peripheral vision kind of having notice of it happened. And then it kind of cuts out everything else and leaves the Nexus text the only one visible. So the arrow or the selector was basically just something that I found. I'm just going to import these little arrows that I've found online and mask them out. So just like that, we're going to mask them out and center the anchor point. So like I said, always make sure you center the anchor point. Make it 3D, and we're just going to transform, flip it horizontally so it's facing the right way, and bring it over. And I'm going to cut it here because that's the only point that it will really be needed. And we don't want to waste like our CPU or GPU because it's After Effects is very demanding and you will crash. I've got 32 RAM. If you have 16, you really have to be careful with where you give it. So I'm going to keyframe the position, and then go to the start, go to the left, and F9. Do what I do with the graph, so just like that.
Joining V best.
And drag the graph, the keyframe out. Obviously.
Shot. Joining V best media. Shot. Joining V best media.
That looks pretty good.
Joining V.
We're gonna add the classic deep glow from the text, copy and paste it to the thing. And if you go in full, you'll see what it actually looks like. Because in quarter or third, whatever you like to use to render quickly, it won't be the same.
All right, my name is Devin Jatho.
So what I'm going to do is create a list of the media teams that are possible. So just like Warner Bros, Sky TV, etc., etc. And we're going to add all the effects straight away so that we don't have to do it at the end. So just go to the one of the previous text and copy and paste, except for the lens blur, you don't really want that. These two, and paste it. Just make sure that the keyframes are right. So yep, anything that's from left to right, because it won't affect where it is in the Y position, if that kind of makes sense. So if the text is like at the top or the bottom, it'll still be the same color because the points aren't concerned with that. So pink can stay at pink for now. So the colors can all be the same for now because at the end I'm gonna change them in terms of what the brand actually like resonates with. So if Warner Bros would maybe be more yellow and blue, but I'll change that at the end. So just gonna cut here and duplicate once, go a bit upwards, and we'll make it Sky TV. And at the end we'll position all of these in the center. And we don't need to position these in the center. We've already positioned Warner Bros. So these can just go in alignment on the left. Like when you're doing an assignment and the teacher says alignment on the left, or by default, the document goes alignment by left, we'll just leave it at that. Chose for the edit were intentional, so I'm just going to copy them to this one. So green for the Dude Perfect, a sort of blue for the Nexus. So this is actually, Nexus is Devin Jatho's basically media agency brand. If anyone wanted to know what this edit is about, he gives people trial edits, and if you're successful, you become part of the team, and if you're not, you don't hear back from him. So I actually got offered to be part of the team, but the pay and hourly rate wasn't there, so I actually had to reject that. So I'm going to have to bring the scale of all of these down just because of the sizes. So now I'm going to create the area in which all of these should be visible. So basically the track mat. So just going to get the rectangle tool here and create a little square like this, and turn the fill on white, maybe turn the stroke off. It's going to be a 3D layer 2. And then the track mat is going to be the shape layer. And yep. So I'm going to create a new null and link all of these text layers to this new null, just so that I can create the animation. So if we start here and we go up on the y-axis, so something like that should do, and then go a little bit forward.
Joining the best media team in the world, joining the best media team in the world over at Nexus. Team in the world over at Nexus.
So basically you want to end this when he says Nexus. So like this, and making sure that the center of the arrow is in line with the center of the Nexus text, just like that. And we can even F9 for the graph. Yeah, so that's a good like roll of the dice kind of effect. I don't know what you call it. And now basically just to make the Dude Perfect and Team Beast text disappear, we're just going to decrease the scale of the track mat, so the area that the text can be visible in. Come to here when it starts to slow down, and then go a little bit forward and decrease the scale on the y-axis only, so just something like that should do. Yep.
Over at Nexus.
Yep, so the next part will be a slow zoom out, so I'm going to go into the null object and come a little bit early, so a little bit frames forward, and then zoom out slowly,
Now we are hiring
something like that, and go up as well on the y-axis. And I'm going to select both and make the graph something like this. And for this Devin Jatho actual edit, we can actually just cut it here, go a little bit forward and cut out the empty time, because in these animations you really want it to be fast paced as possible. So I'm just going to do that here. And I'm actually going to keyframe the opacity of the arrow and text out. So come here and keyframe the opacity of all of these. So to do that, you click on one, so the top one for example, hold down shift and go to the bottom one, these automatically all get selected. And for this last one, you just click shift, hold shift and click on it on the screen, and click T for opacity keyframe, go a couple of frames forward and 0. We can drag all of these keyframes a little bit forward as well, so that the it happens a little bit quicker, just like that. So now if we look at this next part, there's these three kind of symbols that I'm going to show you how to make. I actually made these in After Effects because they weren't readily available on Google, so I'll show you how to make them. And then the text kind of appears, now kind of slides in, and then there's a square behind it kind of flashing, and then the text changes with the cursor dragging the top tier editors, so the middle one, into the center of the frame. I'll show you how to do all of that now in After Effects. So what I'm going to do is create a new composition just to make the symbols. So I'm going to call this symbol 1. And we're just going to create its little outline first. So that's using the pen tool, turning the fill off and making the stroke a yellow. So just like this, kind of following the lines. And one trick to make sure that your lines are perfectly straight is when you click on a spot and you hold shift, it will automatically go straight. So if I try to click here, so if I try to click here, it automatically goes straight. Now I'm just going to create the rest of this. So like that. Like that. Now I've got this little outline, and the good thing about this is we can just copy and paste it for the other ones when we need to. And I'm obviously going to add a deep glow to it. And so for the bottom, it's going to be a rectangle with a fill instead of the stroke. So we're just going to copy the yellow from the stroke. So you go into the stroke, Control C over here. This is the color code. Each specific color has its own code. So you copy that, turn the stroke off just like this, go into fill and paste the code. Now I've got the exact same color, and we can do what we wanted. So creating a rectangle here, adding a deep glow, so just copying the deep glow from the outline to the square. Now I've done that, obviously seen to the anchor point. And I'm just going to make this a little bit wider like that. And we're going to get the text tool and write trainer, so all caps, trainer. This is obviously in Tactic Sans as well. For the color of this, I'm going to go black. So I'm going to go black for all of these because it will look more premium. Just using color coding. Now for the star, we're going to use the star tool and just make a star like that. And for it being a little bit blunter and less sides, we go into the contents. We go polystar, you go path, and you go points. So we're going to go 4, for instance, and just increase the outer roundness a little bit. So something like 35 on outer roundness. That's going to make it look smoother. Obviously positioning it in the center, rotating it however you like, adding the deep glow as well. Now we're going to get the pen tool and turn off fill. So turn the stroke on white and increase the stroke to something like 15. Now we're going to make that little icon that you see over here. So something like that. You can hold shift if you like, and then come to the center, come down to the equivalent, come up here and join the dot. Yep, now just to make it a little bit smoother, we can move this and move this as well if you like. Now we're again going to copy the deep glow, paste it onto there, and center the anchor point. Yeah, now we've done that. We've made the whole icon out of scratch, and this is a really good way to show your skills to a potential client by making icons specific to their channels and brands. It really makes you stand out from the other editors that are just copy and pasting icons from Google and using them in the edits. Okay, so I'm gonna add the text. So now, in all caps, obviously. Yep, 3D, and we're gonna position it in the center over here. And for the animation, I'm actually gonna use a preset. Make it white, and add the deep glow as usual. Now for this little animation, I'm actually going to use a preset. It's called Text Evo. If you want it, just let me know. I'll put it in the Discord. But it's going to be right slide, apply, and we're going to go under the keyframes and drag it over here. The delay is something that you really don't want, so you click 0 for the delay.
Now we are hiring. Now we are hiring top tier. We are hiring.
And obviously make sure the keyframes are actually accurate.
Now
Yep, so something like that. And for the square behind it, we're going to go rectangle tool. Make sure it's nothing selected and go like this. And then once you're done with that, align it perfectly and decrease the stroke. Maybe something like 10 would be ideal in this scenario. Get the deep glow from the thing above and paste it onto here. And we're just going to use our own little flicker effect. Obviously making it 3D first, sorry. But for this, we're going to use our own flicker effect. By that, I mean just keyframe the opacity. So 0 at the first keyframe, literally a couple frames forward, and 100. And then keep copying and pasting this a couple of times only.
Now we are hiring.
And change the text once he starts saying we are hiring. So obviously, right, we are hiring. And for this, you're going to have to decrease the scale quite a bit and put it in the center. So Control Alt Home to center the anchor point. And just like that, we're done. And I'm actually going to go back to this composition and make a new one. So I'm going to make a new composition just to make the two other icons. And I'm going to call this symbol 2. I'm going to literally copy and paste everything over to this one. And then take what we don't need. Take what we need and leave what we don't need. So we need the background, we need the text, and we need that little square behind it. So I'm going to delete these two in the center and then change the colors to red. So something like that. Copy and paste the color code and paste it onto the fill of this thing. So we're actually going to turn off the stroke. So we're actually going to turn off the stroke and then start crafting this. So we'll just start here and then do something like this. Come straight down, go across a little bit, and then come into here, and then go straight up to that last corner. I forgot to add deep glow to this, but we're going to do that now. And then for the other one, a quick trick that you can do for things that look right but just on the other side is always flip them horizontally or vertically. So we're going to duplicate this and then right click, transform and flip horizontal. That makes it so much easier. Now we can just position it to where we'd like, something like that. And the center one's just going to be the same thing. So we're going to get the pen tool again. This time, the fill is going to be a red. So we're going to copy and paste the red from the other things that we have. And go to pen tool. Turn the stroke off. And the fill, we're going to paste that like we said. And now we're going to start making it. And again, we're going to get the deep glow and paste it onto the other one that we have. And now I'm going to make the third one. So obviously creating a new composition. We'll call it symbol 3. So this is the last one that we need to make. Just going to copy and paste everything from symbol 2 over. Just like that. And if we look at this one, we're going to use the same star from number 1. So get the star from there, copy and then paste it over here. Delete these things in the center, keep everything else. So these 3 can go. And the color that we're going to use is a cyan. So make a cyan, copy the color code, and then paste it onto the other 2. So just like that. And I forgot to change the text over here, but it should be top tier. And on this last one, it should be training. So basically teacher, if that kind of makes sense. And we're going to use the same tool that we had again. So turn the fill off and actually go stroke white. And just make the lines like this, something like that. Should be good. The other ones, add it to this. Center it like that. The stroke could even be something higher, so I'm going to go 15 actually. And make these other two. Or we can use the trick that I told you about earlier. So I'm going to duplicate this. Right click, transform, flip horizontally. Right click, transform, flip vertically, and add a rotation of 90. Now we've got this one. We can bring the scale down and increase the stroke to something like 20. Or even something like 50. We'll try 50 for a second there. Yep, that looks pretty good. Now duplicate this and transform, flip horizontally. Now duplicate this one and just change the rotation so something like that, and we've just basically flipped it on its head with just changing the parameters. That's all we've done. And it kind of looks like an angry face now, so that's the thing that we were looking for. So now I'm going to import my cursor, so this is a grab cursor. And we're going to rotate it actually, so something like that, and scale it down, making it 3D obviously.
Now
and the position is going to come to here. So this cursor comes from here, and it comes down, so we're going to keyframe the opacity as well. So starting here, it's going to be 0, and then as it kind of moves along, it's going to go to 50. We're never going to get it to 100 because otherwise it's just going to overpower the scene. That's something really important. You never want to overpower the scene with like useless visuals, if that kind of makes sense. And once it gets to here, we're going to cut this, so Control Shift D, and we're going to link this to the cursor after that. And the cursor is going to go up, so position, and it's actually just going to go upwards, so like that. We can go into the graph and do something like that.
Editors with the salary, top tier editors with the salary, hiring top tier editors with the salary, hiring top tier editors with the salary. Now we are hiring top tier editors.
And the camera is going to do a little bit of a zoom, so we're going to go into the null object for the camera and keyframe it here. Go a little bit forward, and obviously here. We're going to do a slow zoom, and the reason it's only slow is because we're going to do something else with a new null as well. So just like that, a slow zoom.
Top tier editors with the.
Now we're going to create a new null and link this other one to it. Make sure these are always 3D nulls.
Editors.
And we're going to position keyframe here. And we're going to keyframe the position here. Something here. And then one frame forward, we're going to go all the way in like that. and bring it down so that this thing is actually the center.
For the salary.
So using that, we're going to bring it down even more.
For the salary.
And probably to the right even a bit. So like that. Yep, I think that's good. Now the important thing is you want to right click and click toggle hold keyframe. Otherwise there's going to be like a lot of motion blur and unnecessary movement in the transition that you definitely do not want. So definitely make sure to do that.
Editors with the salary.
And now we're going to make sure that this is above everything else. These three can... This one alone, this symbol too, can go above everything else. Because we're going to layer new adjustment layer. And we're going to add a little darkness. So the reason we're doing this through an adjustment layer is because otherwise you'd have to individually decrease the opacity of everything. The easier option is just to add an adjustment layer and give it a tint or a dark fill. So we'll give it a fill. And it's basically just going to be black, just because we don't want anything else changing. And come to here, click amount to tint. And then go a little bit forward. And we're going to go to something that we find reasonable, like that. And we're going to cut out the cursor when the transition happens. So here, the cursor is going to be gone because we don't need it. It's two separate lines that are vertical, and it's one horizontal line. Both of them, all three of them, sorry, have a trim path that creates the effect that it's increasing. And then there's going to be a mosaic on the text, and I'll show you how to do all of that right now. So we're going to use the pen tool and create something like this with a stroke of about 15 maybe. Yep, that looks good. 15 stroke. Go into one of the layers, get the deep glow from it, and paste it onto the layer. Make sure these are 3D too, so don't forget that part, making them 3D. And we're gonna have to scale this way down because it's becoming way too big. And now I'm going to show you what I meant. So we're going to add a trim path. And this is going to go from 0 to 100. So starting here, we're going to put it at 0 over here. And then we're going to go a bit forward and go to 100.
Editors with the salary. Editors with the salary, ranging. Editors with the salary, ranging anywhere between. With the salary, ranging any. Editors with the salary, ranging.
And now we're going to add that. Now for the vertical line, we can literally just duplicate it and do the same thing that we did with the other objects that we had. So duplicate and rotate by 90 on the Z axis, just like that. And what you can do is just drag this out while maintaining the same scale. So what we're going to do like that, and then make it smaller, hopefully. No. Yep, so something like that. Even a bit longer would be preferable. But you've got to notice that it goes the same on both sides, so we can't actually have it too large. We've got to do the balance, so something like that. Looks good. Now the keyframe. So at the end. So we're going to move the start of this one to the end of the other one, if that kind of makes sense.
You're hiring top tier editors with a salary ranging anywhere between $2,000
And this one's going to get duplicated with another rotation, just like that. I'm just going to go 180 straight away. And now you'll see that it's started from the top to bottom, so that's exactly what we wanted. And again, just bringing the start of this keyframe, so the first keyframe in line with the last keyframe of the horizontal line.
Salary ranging anywhere between
Yep,
$2,000
looks
per month.
good. We can even make it closer together to speed it up and bring it further across.
Ranging anywhere between
That looks
2,000.
pretty good. Now what we're going to do is create the ticks, so the 2K and the 8K, so 2 and then K, fully capped, 3D, obviously center the anchor point, and then bring it up to where it should be, so just like that, adding the deep glow, as well, and duplicate it and bring it, just drag it across.
Anywhere between $2,000 per month.
And for this one, we're going to write 8,000, so 8 and then K. Now, for the blur effect that you guys are probably waiting for, hopefully you're waiting for, it's going to be a mosaic. So mosaic and then synthetics, drag it onto there. So mosaic and then stylize, drag it onto there. Yep, we've got a big. So we're gonna start off with like 65 and 50. This is a bit weird because mosaic is like the more you increase the number, the less blurry it gets. It's just like picture it as pixels. So the more pixels you have, the more clear the screen's gonna look. That's kind of what mosaic is. I don't know.
Anywhere between 2,000.
So because we haven't done the camera movement, we're just gonna have to play off audio here. So when he says 2000, we're gonna create the animation.
Anywhere between 2,000.
So it started around here, and then it should end around here. So by end, I mean we're gonna drag this out like 500 by 500, and you'll see that it's become smooth. That's because there's more pixels.
$2,000.
Yep, now I've got that effect. We're just gonna copy, we're just gonna do the same thing on the 8K.
$2,000 per month, all the way up to 8.
Add the mosaic keyframe here, 65, we'll just stick with that. And then we're going to go a little bit forward and go to 500, just like that, F9 as well.
Anywhere between $2,000 per month, all the anywhere between $2,000 per month, all the way up to $8,000 per month. On top of receiving the high, anywhere between $2,000.
Yep, now I've just got to do the camera movement. It's really simple, so we're just gonna go to the nulls and create a new one. On top of null 3, we're gonna make it 3D and link it again.
Editors with a salary. Editors
So
with
position,
salary ranging anywhere
and
between
then zooming in, going down, and to the right. Down again, just like that. You can go F9.
with a salary ranging anywhere between top tier editors with a salary ranging anywhere between $2,000 per month.
And make sure this is actually accurate, so I'm going to actually start this over here.
$2,000 per
And
month.
basically you want the peak of the graph to basically be when the animation occurs, so that the most movement occurs when the animation occurs. So I'm just going to look at the peak, and it's around here, and that's pretty good. That's where the 2K becomes visible.
Editors with a salary ranging anywhere between $2,000 per month, all ranging anywhere between $2,000 per
And
month.
now we're going to create a new null object, and it's just going to be a slow movement to the right. So I'm going to go like this.
$8,000 per month, all the way up to $8,000 per month.
So just like that. F9, and we're going to do the same with the keyframes.
$2,000 per month, all the way up to $8,000. $2,000 per month, all the way up to $8,000.
Yep, so I'm actually going to hold it at this point.
Per month, all the way up to $8,000 per month, all the way up to $8,000, all the way up to $8,000 per month, all the way up to $8,000 per month. Per month, all the way up to
Yep, we've done that part now. And the real cool thing about this motion graphics is how much you can charge for it. Simple edits like these, you can easily charge 50 USD and upwards, just because of how premium it looks, even though it's not really hard to make. Okay, so this is going to be the next part. So basically I have to add a film burn here just to ease out the transition. And I'm going to make this screen mode, so blending mode screen, just because I don't want it to affect the video too much. Okay, so now we're going to go back to that original clip, so just cut these out. And basically everything, the symbols, everything else that doesn't really need to be here, then you can just cut it out. We're going to reset the camera, so just come back to the normal. I've just reset the camera, so these two keyframes are literally just one after the other, coming back to the original point of just Devin. So we'll just show you what that looks like now.
On top of receiving the highest pay in the industry.
Yep, and here I'm actually going to make the opacity 100 for the Devin clip again. And I have to actually cut out the tint as well, because that's making the opacity really low.
On top of receiving the high.
So
on top of receiving the on top of receiving the on top of receiving the
So now we just need a slow zoom out, so I'm going to go a little bit forward and keyframe.
On top of receiving the highest pay in the industry.
Forward and basically just zoom in a little bit. So I just gone a few frames forward and basically zoomed out a little bit, and I'm going to check the graph. It should be alright though. Yeah, and this text is basically going to go behind Devin, so that's going to be using the roto that we just created. So I'm just going to type in the text. Something like this.
On top of receiving the highest pay.
And I'm going to position keyframe it. So I'm going to keyframe to position and start it up here. And then once it gets to like a few seconds ahead, we're going to bring it down. So just like that.
On top of receiving the highest pay in the industry. On top of receiving the highest pay in the
it could even be like the graph could even be like this. So
on top of receiving the highest pay in the industry.
Yeah, it looks better.
Receiving the highest pay.
So now I'm going to keyframe the position of all of these to come to the center. So basically at the same point where the first keyframe of the opacity was, just a little bit ahead of that. I'm gonna keyframe the position.
Highest pay in the industry. You also join the industry. You also
So around here, I'm going to bring them all to the center. And obviously this one has to be a little bit more forward because it is the main one that we're gonna use.
highest pay in the industry. You also join
And the position of all of these can just F9 and go into the graph and do something like
highest pay in the industry. You also highest pay in the industry. 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 You also highest pay in the industry. You highest pay in the industry. Highest pay in the industry.
and then we can scale up and we can increase the scale as well.
In the industry. You also
So just the same keyframes and then a little bit bigger over here.
highest pay in the industry. You also pay in the $1,000 on top of receiving the highest pay in the industry.
So no need for keyframes, but the scale can just be a little bit larger on the Devin Jatho one.
Highest pay in the industry. You also
And the opacity can actually go to 100 for this one.
highest pay in the industry. You also
Now for that little glow effect, we're going to duplicate it. Add a deep glow as well. And then for this opacity, we're going to click this and for the opacity of this one, it's just going to be a little flash. So 0 here. And then when it kind of connects, you're going to go 100 and then back to 0. We'll see how that looks.
the highest pay in the industry. You also join the industry. You also pay in the industry.
Yeah, so it could be even a bit earlier and bring the keyframes in a bit more even.
The highest pay in the industry. You also
Yeah, just play around with it till you feel right. I might just decrease the opacity a bit to something like 70.
the highest pay in the industry. You also join.
Yep, that's pretty good.
You also join an elite media team. Pay in the industry. You also join highest pay in the industry. You also
Now for this next part, I need to go into the null object and keyframe it.
You also join an elite media team to where we do a lot of cool shit. We do a lot of elite media team to where we do a lot of cool shit together. We do a lot of cool shit together.
And then go a bit forward and zoom it in just like that. Fade it out, so I'm just going to do that now with the text. So opacity.
You also join an elite.
And then 0, just a few frames forward. It won't really matter that much, but
you also join an elite.
And opacity to 0. So now we're gonna create these 3 little elite average pull things. So that's just gonna be an alpha fix again. To make a straight line, you just have to hold shift. So just like this, and then get the rough shape, and then straight line again. Just make sure that this distance is equal. And then connect it there. We're going to push this out a little bit like that. Turn off the stroke, obviously, and give it a deep glow. Gonna make it 3D, of course. And I'm gonna keyframe the position a little bit, so bring it, so keyframe and then go a little bit ahead and go a little bit back and just change the Y axis a little bit. So just like that. Now I'm going to add the text, so elite for this one. All of these can be in black. And where you want it to like align, you link it to the shape layer. And I'm also going to cut it so that it only appears with the shape. Now we're going to keyframe the opacity as well. So start at 0 and then go a little bit forward and go to 100. Now for the other ones, I'm just going to duplicate them. So duplicate these two and then just go to the position of this other one and bring it down a little bit. Scale as well, we're going to make it a little bit smaller. And of course, align it where we should be. The fill's obviously going to be yellow because we're changing. And I'm going to change the text as well. But before I do that, I have to fade this Devin Jatho thing out. So keyframe here, the opacity when the elite starts to appear, and then go a little bit forward and go 0. Yeah, we'll just bring them here and closer. And at this point, you want to cut out every single other one because they might just end up interfering with it. So just cut out all of it. Yep. Now I'm just going to change this text to average because that's what it was. And we're going to scale it down and align it in the center like this. Now do the same thing, duplicate these two and position, just bring the position down. Scale of this one can go smaller as well. Just position it correctly here. Yep. And the fill is going to be red. So I'm just going to go red here. And we're going to write poor for the text. Now we're going to do the pyramid thing where now we're going to stagger them. So the poor one's going to come in at the end and the average one's going to come in just before that. So to stagger them as you decide. Yeah, so just like that. So now the next part is yeah, so just basically a montage of clips just behind Devin, and the text is going to display what he's saying. We do a lot of cool shit together. So I'm going to get here and cut everything out. We do a lot of cool shit together. And I'm going to scale these down a little bit. They don't really have to be 3D because make them 3D as well. And scale them down even more. Just like that. Now you're going to have to stagger these quite well so that the last one kind of appears when he starts talking about the next topic. So you want to maximize the availability that you have of these 4 images. We do a lot of cool shit together. We run marathons together. We do quarterly editing. Run marathons together. So here is where the last one should end. So I'm just going to cut that there. And we're just going to stagger these, so about a quarter of the way. I'm going to cut this out and then cut this to start here. Cut this again, make this other one start here. And then cut this here and make that last one start there.
Cool shit together. We run marathons together. How we do we run marathons.
So again, you gotta make sure that you use the most of these. So I'm gonna go to the end of when he starts talking about this.
How we do quarterly editing.
So around here, and I'm gonna cut. So around here, I'm gonna cut everything out, and just gonna. So there's 7 of these. So I want to make sure that I'm using about a seventh on each to get to the end. So just like this, I'm gonna start cutting them. Yeah, so now just to add that final touch of effect, you gotta do the zoom in and zoom out effect. So that's just with the camera again. I'm just gonna keyframe the null object. Yeah, so the next part is this little Google logo and this little text that appears on this little search bar. And then afterwards, this Devin, yes, this whole section appears, and yep, it goes back to the screen. So I'm gonna come here and cut all the text out, like so. For that camera movement, I'm just going to create a keyframe here and go about halfway to here, zoom in a little bit, and then copy this keyframe and then paste it back over here. Just gonna make these like hills. Just like that. It's all good. So now I'm going to move on to that part and I'm going to create a back. So it's basically just going to be a solid layer. So layer new solid. And I'm just going to use the pen tool, the eyedrop tool, and kind of keyframe and kind of just pin the color outside. So just like that. I'm going to go okay. So now this kind of disappears. And I'm going to type Google. So Google. Make it 3D, of course, scale it up, and make the color white. The Tactic Sans font is fine, and we're just going to check what it says using the proportional grid. Make sure it's in the center, somewhere up there, and a little bit lower could even do just fine. Now I'm gonna create that little bar below it, so that's going to just be using a rounded rectangle tool, and I'm going to make it just like this. Go under the properties and increase the roundness. I'm going to change the color, so something like this, a shade of gray, and center it, anchor point, center it like this as well, so proportional grid, scale it down, and something like this is okay. Now I'm going to bring in the icons, so there's 3 icons visible: the search icon, the microphone, and the search by image. I'm gonna import all of those. Now I've imported them. I'm just going to use the tint to create what I think should be the colors, and just paste it on all of these. They're going to be similar color to the bar. What I have to do is just kind of increase the make them a little bit whiter. So I'm going to copy this color and paste it onto the other ones as well. Otherwise they'll be invisible. Make them all 3D as well. And flip this, so I'm just going to use a transform, flip horizontally. And obviously make sure these all come in where you want them to, so I'm just going to cut them out. And make sure everything is in line, so following this line. 1 frame back should be Devin, 1 frame forward, this whole thing. Yeah, and the Google text is going to come down, so it's actually going to start at a higher position. So I'm going to do that keyframe up here, and then go a little bit forward and come down to the correct position. F9 on while holding both keyframes, and just drag it a little bit backwards, so the keyframes backwards. And you can drag this one even out further, so you want the slowness of the animation, just like that. Yep, drag this one out even further. Yeah, now we'll go F9 and we'll actually make this a slow descent graph. And I'm going to link all of these 3 to the bar, and I'm going to link the And I'm gonna make the bar go up, so same thing as the Google but opposite. So this one's gonna start down and come up. So F9 and do the slow descent graph and bring this keyframe a little bit forward. So just like that, and we're done. Okay, so I'm gonna type out the text. It's best media team in the world, so I'm just gonna type that, and we'll make it 3D. Now for it to now the effect that we're gonna add is gonna be the typewriter effect. So just find that in your effects and presets, and drag it on. So click U for the keyframes to pull up the keyframes, and you want to put the first one here, and then the last one a few seconds ahead.
But being the best media team in the world.
Yep, that looks pretty good. Now we're just going to align it where we want it, and then from there we're going to link it to this back layer, so shape 12. Otherwise it looks, otherwise it doesn't move. And we can just cut it there. So now if we take a look.
But being the best media team in the world.
Yep, that's good. And so the next part is the camera goes down and this whole like Google search result comes up. So we're gonna have to make that manually, and then I'll show you how to kind of make it appear after that. So we're gonna create a new composition and call it Devin Jatho search result. And I'm going to pull up the Instagram logos because I've got it in my files. And we're just going to position it there. And I'm going to add the text. So I'm just going to go through and add all the text. If there's any questions, just put them in the comments. But this part's pretty straightforward, so I'm just going to do it on fast mode. So yeah. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to import the composition into the main composition that we had. So I'm just going to get that composition, drag it onto here, and of course make it 3D. Now we're going to position it so something like that should do. And now for the appearing over time, it's just going to be with a mask. But before that, we have to make sure that it's. But before that, we have to make the camera movement happen. So for that, I'm going to create a new null. So layer new null, link the previous one to it, and then create a position keyframe, and then go a bit forward and just down on the y-axis, and F9 for the keyframes.
But being the best media team in the world is.
We're going to go into the graph and make it a sharp graph like that.
Being the best media team in the world isn't easy.
Yep. Now we're just going to go to the mask. We're going to go to the composition and create a mask using the rectangle tool. So we can just mask from here to here. And I'm going to click M for mask path, keyframe. This will be the final, so everything that is in the composition will show. And yep. But I'm going to go here, and on the mask path, I'm going to drag it up. So just like that. And then select both F9.
Isn't easy. Every team in the world.
And I'm going to actually bring these a little bit further over here because we want it to show up a little bit earlier.
Being the best media team in the world isn't easy.
Yep, that looks pretty good. Yeah, so the next part is this little fade in of characters or people, whatever you like to call them. We're just going to do that now, and
Every single one of it isn't easy.
so here I'm going to cut out everything that was present in the previous frame. So all of these can go. Yeah, so before we do that, we actually have to make sure that the camera resets to where it was originally. So that's just going to be with a keyframe here and a keyframe one frame back. And this keyframe is going to reset the camera so in the position that we want it. Yep. You should use a Devin zone for this just to make it more accurate, but we can't do that here. So right click, toggle hold keyframe, that way there won't be any issues or motion blur. Just like that. That's good. Now I'm going to import the icons. Yeah, so I'm just going to keyframe the opacity. So starting at 0, of course, and then going a couple of frames forward and 100.
Every
Yep. Obviously, I made sure they're 3D. And I'm going to add a bit of position movement so it doesn't just look dull. So come here and move this one forward and just drag the first one a bit up, F9, and this kind of graph will do. Select both keyframes and drag them a little bit to the back.
Every single.
Now we want to extend this keyframe. Yeah, now it's just a matter of duplicating and adjusting the timing. So I'm going to do the first one and then speed run the next. So duplicate, move to the right. So duplicate and then select both position keyframes. Make sure you're on one of them and then drag them to the right. We're just going to enable this to see center. Yep. And then just drag the entire thing a little bit forward for that staggering effect. Now we're just going to repeat the process. Yeah, so the next part is basically a movement forward, and the 10-hour kind of um, writing pops up behind Devin, and also the um, also the timer pops up in front of him. So we're gonna do that and add our glitch effect. So for that camera movement, I'm just gonna make a new null. So layer new null, and obviously 3D. Link it, and click P for positioning.
Every single one of us.
Keyframe there.
It's all work.
And then we're just gonna zoom in here. Just like that.
Day. 10-hour day.
So over here, I'm going to cut all of these, so these 9 little icons can disappear. And we're gonna add the text, so 10, and then bracket 00, bracket 00. And bring it just below the center, like that. Now we're gonna change the font, so Tactic Sans, and it'll have to be scaled down for that. We're gonna add a deep glow as well. Bring the parameters down a little bit, and add that gradient ramp. So the first point can be there, the second point can be there, and we're just gonna go like a light red. That looks pretty good. Now for that glitch effect, you're gonna search for glitch, and if you don't have BCC, I highly recommend it. I'll try to get it in my Discord server when that comes out though, but yeah. And just copy my settings, so like that.
It's an hour.
Yeah, so you're gonna come a few frames forward and actually delete the video glitch effect because it's just for transition purposes.
Work 10-hour days. Work 10-hour days. Each. All work 10-hour days. Each editor work 10-hour days.
Yeah. Now for that back text, we're just gonna duplicate this and bring it all the way down. So all the way down and behind the first Devin Jatho, obviously. And then type in our word, so 10-hour, all caps. I'm gonna scale it down too, so something like that. Should appear up here. Even bigger, could do. Now I'm just gonna make it orange, like that, and like that. We don't need a glitch for this, so I'm going to delete the glitch. But what I will add is that text evo. So just a blur transition. And I'm going to click U for the keyframes. Make sure that they're actually where they should be. Like so. And delete the delay.
To now.
Yep, just drag this out a bit forward.
Work to nowadays. Each editor. Work to nowadays. Each. To nowadays.
Yeah, so that's that part done.
Nowadays, each editor does at least 50 to 100 revisions on each video.
Come stang ਜਾਂਦੀ ਉੱਡਦੀ ਜਾਉਣੇ ਮੋੜ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਰਹੀਦਾ ਹਰਾਨ So for this next part, this tasks and all the writing just kind of comes down these three texts up here. I'm gonna again create another composition so I can make that happen. So I'm gonna call it tasks. And layer new solid for the background. I'm just gonna call it background and black. So the reason I do this, you might think it's useless and the background is automatically black, but when you take a composition from here to the main comp, it's just gonna act as if the background wasn't there, so it's gonna be invisible background. So you might think it's a black background, but it's actually just transparent. And it's only black so that you can see where the effects are working or not. ਬੱਤੀ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਸਟੈਂਗ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਉੱਡਦੀ ਜਾਣੇ ਮੋੜ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਰਹੀਦਾ ਨੀ ਬੱਤੀ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਸਟੈਂਗ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਉੱਡਦੀ So now I'm going to add that big tasks title at the top in all caps, and I'm going to scale it up all the way so that it maxes out the screen. We're going to add our deep glow here and just decrease the parameters a little bit. And for the texts, I'm just going to go revision for every single one. If you want to make up your own specific revisions, you can always do that, but I'm just going to come here and write revision a bunch of times. So and just like that, we've got this done. So
or days. Each
50 to
50
100
to 100
revisions
revisions
on each.
And for this next part, I'm going to need more camera movement. So I'm going to go down, find that null, and I'm just going to keyframe here. So position keyframe, and we're going to go a bit forward to about here and zoom in a bit more. So just like that. The bottom, so I'm going to cut those out, and I'm going to import tasks. Like that, make it 3D and scale it down. So position it like so. Now I'll show you, if I turn off the background here and I go to the main thing, you can see the black just goes away because it didn't really have a background and it was just transparent. That's what I was talking about when I meant you need a black background, even though it might just seem like you're doing it for the sake of it. It actually has a reasoning behind it. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all of these and then pre-compose. So revision text, pre-compose that, and we're going to add a mask, so just like that. So to make these appear over time, get this mask path, get it a keyframe, and go to the first one, drag the path up like so, and then F9. Now you've got this little loading in. Now you've got this little domino effect where the text just comes in.
Editor does at least 50 to 100 revisions.
So yeah, I kind of misjudged that timing, but it's okay. So we're just gonna do that there. Now for that video text, it's pretty simple, of course. Just duplicate this 10 o'clock text up here and drag it over here. Now I'm just going to write video, scale it way down, so something like that, and place this one on top of here. You're going to have to adjust the gradient ramp for all of these as well. I'm going to keyframe the opacity, so 100 just a few frames forward and then 0 at the start.
Since you were going
Just bring this a little bit earlier and then duplicate, drag it over here, and we're going to obviously change the color, so I'll go green and move the points, so something like that. Duplicate again, move it over here again, change the color, blue, move the points. Now we'll just play it back, see what it looks like. So I'm gonna add a zoom out. Okay, so the final part is just gonna be the final text. So I'm gonna come here and cut everything out and then add the text. So I might just duplicate this text and then remove all the keyframes. So come around here and delete this opacity keyframe. We're going to move it up to the center around here. So I'm just going to go ahead and as soon as he changes words, I'm going to change the text. And then you get something like,
Alright, my name is Devin Jatho, and this is a chart edits for your shot at joining the best media team in the world over at Nexus. Now, we are hiring top tier editors with a salary ranging anywhere between $2,000 per month all the way up to $8,000 per month. On top of receiving the highest pay in the industry, you also join an elite media team to where we do a lot of cool shit together. We run marathons together. We do quarterly editing team trips. But being the best media team in the world isn't easy. Every single one of us all work 10-hour days. Each editor does at least 50 to 100 revisions on each video, and you're going to be constantly challenged to grow here.